Hi, welcome back to Rope Coaching's YouTube channel. My name is Robin O'Leary.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be talking all things board climbing. Whether that's a new concept for you, you don't do much board climbing, or you think you're a bit of a board pro, we're going to be talking about all of the training tips and tricks that could help you with your sessions. So firstly, why board climbing? You could just climb on normally set problems in your gym or multiple gyms and just have fun. And that's completely fine. The beauty of board climbing is it's definitely more applicable to rock, but it's completely adjustable, and it's also something that's going to be set there forever, indefinitely. So you can see your progression as you train, not to mention the benefits, the raw benefits of it. And it's really a great tool for strength and power. That includes your actual core, your body tension, your fingers, your contact strength, pulling. It's so good at building raw strength and power in a practical sense.
Some of the reasons I personally love board climbing is because, well, I climb mostly outside, and it's the perfect tool for getting me strong and powerful and snappy for climbing outside. Really gets my fingers strong, gets my shoulders strong, and my core tension, as well as my footwork. Because I always say, like, your feet are connected to your knees, which are connected to your hips, and then your core, and then up the chain. So you have to drive through your feet to be able to keep your hips into the wall and to also keep your core tight. So it's really the whole package when it comes to strength and power. So we have just completed our normal warm-up routine, which is on the shoulders and the fingers and everything on the hangboard and weights that we do, our myofascia, all of that. And then our secondary warm-up is always then climbing easy. Sometimes we do it on normal boulders, even if we're gonna do a board session, and sometimes we just do it on the board. And if you have a board that's adjustable, then you can make it less steep, and you can also pick easier climbs for yourself, making sure you're good and warmed up so that when you're ready to try hard, everything's a go. So when you're board climbing, I really like to be intentional about trying to keep my feet on when possible, unless I know they're gonna have to cut because the move is too big. But for boards, I typically like to use a stiffer shoe, because then you can toe in better, actually pull with your toes to get your hips into the wall.
Okay, so we do a lot of video analysis for our clients on boards. It's great because the problems stay indefinitely, so you can see the progression once they have analysis. One thing that we see a lot of climbers, not just our clients, is the over adjustment in their hands specifically, but also feet. So when you're warming up, it's really good to be intentional with your footwork, first time placement. We're not going to go over it in too much detail, but also with hand grip. So whether that means you're focusing on being an open hand, half crimp, full crimp, just being more intentional. So rather than getting a hold and making 4, 5, 6, 7 adjustments, wasting all that time and energy, choose what you're going to do. Whether you're going to do a climb and make no adjustments, first time contact, or it's also trainable to be able to go from open to a half or open to full. And again, being intentional, hitting a grip and then making that adjustment and being happy with that first adjustment rather than constantly test.
Keeping tension in our body when we climb. There's so many different ways we can do this in different times while we're climbing that it's important for what part of the body. So let's take the lower body, for example. When we want to have this long core tension, it's really want our hips to be thrusted into the wall, so we're really close to the wall. So if we think we want our foot to be pulling in to a hold, which drives our hips into the wall, and then activates our core. This will allow us to keep our feet on easier and to have this good long core tension while we're climbing. And so always trying to keep your feet on when possible is something that I like to do, keeping that long core tension and then cutting them intentionally when we need to. Another part of our body that it's important to have tension between while we're climbing on a board is our shoulders. So a lot of times when your feet are gonna cut, and if that's on accident and you need to get them back into the wall, or if you cut them intentionally, you want to stay tight in the upper body, making more of like a T position and having your rhomboids and your traps and your lats be able to be tight and have the tension between both shoulders.
Okay, this is a classic V7 at 40 degrees keel training. We'll link it in the description, but this one is going on from Alex's concept of the T's and the Y's. So it's all about direction of force. That's the whole purpose of it. But this one includes some big moves, like that one, and then one at the top as well. And I'm going to play this again, slow-mo, and talk over it, because big moves like this, it's really important to maintain that tension that Alex is talking about in the shoulders. So I'm going to play that again in slow-mo, and you'll see what I mean. So this clip shows various things, but we're going to look at the big move in isolation. So when she sets up, she's powering from that bottom left, and we're going slow-mo, but you'll see that as she catches this next hold with her right hand, she stays engaged, and you'll see this gapping between her shoulder and her neck, and how she stays strong in this T position across both shoulders. And she stays engaged the whole time until she realizes, oh, okay, now I can relax. And you'll see that as she transitions from left to right now. Now we'll see the transitional moves as she sets up for this final last move. And it's really interesting. And she'll use that left leg to kind of help generate momentum, but we're not really looking at that specifically. What we're going to look at is as she catches, so you'll see her right shoulder's engaged, the gapping between her shoulder, her deltoid and her neck. And as she catches, she'll pull into this strong position. Again, look at the gapping between deltoid and neck, the strong line across the shoulders stay engaged the whole time, helping her control her core, and look at the contact with hands as well. Okay, going on from Alex's concept of shoulder tension, and specifically talking about the T, it's really important. Again, it's all to do with that directional force that we talk about. Essentially, for example, in this move, I'm going to be going from here to this hold. So my forearm at least should be at 90 degrees, like down here. But the shoulders have to stay engaged. Without it, you become more like a Y rather than a T. And think of that Y like a filter. It's where the energy sags. So we see a lot of people, and the common mistake in board climbing is when people go for a hold, maybe they're too front on, we'll talk about that in a second. They'll hit the hold and they're in this collapsed shoulder position, and that's where their energy goes. So I'll try and demonstrate it now. So the first one, I'm going in full control, I'm hitting the hold and feel really stable. My shoulders are a T. The second one is because of an insecurity. You think, oh, maybe my foot's going to slip, or it's quite a long way. You start to see this sag in the body, and you're catching in this wide Y position. And in reality, it's either going to be really hard and not very nice for your shoulders. We see a lot of youth climbers do it, or it's where your energy is going to go and you're going to fall off. We're going to go now into talking about the insecurities of board climbing, which we see in a lot of climbers. Okay, let's talk about that insecurity. Essentially, it comes typically as the board gets steeper, people are insecure about their feet. They think they're going to slip. What that leads to is over-pulling. And now it's the complete opposite of what you need to do, because if you're insecure about your feet and you pull more, you're just going to pull your feet straight off the board. And a board is so humbling in teaching you how not to pull, or only to pull when you need to. So, for example, we see climbers when they've got a foot out wide or a smaller foot and they think it's not going to stick. You see them do this a lot, and they could stay on, but they'll be cutting all the time. That's just going to shock load your fingers. You're throwing away energy. Or you see people locking and their bum coming out rather than driving with the legs and the hips. Obviously, we've talked about that in various videos, and we can link that in the description below. But it's really important that, as Alex said earlier, your body kind of mirrors the contour of the wall. So when we're driving, we're thrusting with our feet and our hips. We're not just front on and pulling. We've got articulation with the feet.
Even though we're board climbing and we're trying to be more powerful, maybe dynamic and strength-based, we still want to conserve energy and climb efficiently. So even if we're going into these like tension between our shoulders as well and our feet are cutting, and we want to get to the next hold and grab it with like a more strong T position through our shoulders, doesn't mean we don't want to go back to relaxing and then climbing on our skeleton with straight arms, hips into the wall whenever we can, to have those like seconds where we're conserving energy. And then so when you don't have to be tense, don't necessarily be tense, but still be strong through your body and your core. You can be a little bit more relaxed when possible in the upper body and still have that really good core and hip tension. So our body's like this chain reaction and it all works together. And it's all depending on the move at hand. So on this one, I'm gonna climb this climb and you're gonna see when I need to be strong in the shoulders and keep a stronger T position. And then when I can go and relax and conserve energy. So now I'm relaxing again. Strong, and then I can go back to relaxing. And then when I realize I want to keep my feet, same thing. And then as you can see, my left arm is straight and I can relax it. So I just climbed this climb here behind me on the kilter board. I think it's called SNZM Ramen at 40 degrees. It's a 7B or a V8. And it was quite dynamic, a little punchy, but I think it's the third move, the second move, when I went to a left-hand side pull that I had to be dynamic and punch to it, but then I did a little flick with my feet so that I could rotate my hips around and get my left foot on the hold as quick as I can and be precise. And then from there, I set up and did what I love, my favorite move, a pogo, to be able to get my right hand to the next crimp. And then again, a little flick and my hips rotated so I can get my right foot on precisely. So I don't have to sit there, and waste seconds with my feet not on anything and just dangling off my arms. So we've talked about before in previous videos about different grip positions and hold types and everything and how to hold them. But on a board, I really like to use the half grip position, especially getting my thumb back into the hold or the wall if possible, if the hold is too small. But if I duck over here, getting into this strong, what I like to call anchor point, and having a stronger grip position, I find makes my shoulders more stable, and I'm able to get into that T position easier when I need to. Versus this loose grip position, either the 3 or 4 finger open hand drag, which is a relaxed position, which I do on the board sometimes, especially after I have done that hard move where I need to be stable in my shoulders, and then I can go into relaxing. Then sometimes I'll loosen my grip position and go into that 3 finger open hand drag so that I can get my hips closer into the wall and have that split second of relaxation before powering up to do another move.
Okay, so board climbing also requires a lot of smearing, so accurate smearing too. And that could be on the board and you have to find your foot, or a piece of the board, but also we see a common error at the beginning, like sometimes first moves, and it's where people don't know where to smear. And I guess there's definitions. If we're flagging, we've got a passive flag and we're just posting for stability, that's different. But when we're looking to generate momentum and power, we need to maximize surface area from that smear. And we see a lot of people place the smear quite low and far out and it will just slide, essentially meaning them either it will pull them back, just adds resistance, or they'll just have to pull more. I'll show you what that looks like. So in this first move, for example, just moving out right, and I've got a toe out right. Now, if I don't really do much with my left, or I bring it wide, it's gonna slide as I make the move, and it's basically gonna mean that I'm gonna be pulling a lot harder than I have to, rather than bring it kind of higher, maximize that surface area, and this then can initiate the move. And I've got all that surface area. That also happens higher up on moves, where you need some power from the lower body. Your flagging leg doesn't have a foothold, so you need to post it. It's always, or typically, kind of at a parallel level to the foot that you've got, and then generate from the smear. Okay, so this climb is called Mr. Slim. It's V7 at 40 degrees, and it's really, the purpose of this is all about this kind of last move. So fire up into this good right hand, you can flick into this good left hand. Right foot comes high, and it's all about this left foot smear. It comes up high, you maximize your surface area, and you fire up. your legs and hips rather than pulling and rocking with your arm. So we've obviously talked about how great and powerful and dynamic board climbing is, which is why we love it so much. But it also introduces the other concept of strength, which is contact strength. Now, strength on its own is just the ability to hold something statically. Now, rate of force development is how quickly I can hit and produce my maximum force. So it's slightly different than normal climbing in the fact that we do it all the time in board climbing. It's steeper, so there's more weight on our hands, and it promotes this dynamic climbing. Or the climbs that we all set are quite dynamic and powerful. Whereas a lot of the climbing, we can be in control, and then every now and again we'll do a jump move. And it's like campusing, the fact that you have to hit a hold and be able to generate force, otherwise your hand uncurls. And if you're new to board climbing, you may have had that experience where you hit a hold and you can't generate the strength and your hand uncurls. And that is contact strength. And a good way to train it is obviously on the campus board. Just really basically, you could just jump and catch a hold. Now, if that feels quite aggressive for you, you can do that on the board with your feet on the floor using bigger holds. Or you can just do it on the normal set climbs in your gym where you have a good hold, you jump to a good hold. And over time, once your shoulders strengthen, your elbows, your wrists, your hands, you can reduce the size of the edge. And the same concept on the campus board. You could go for the larger edge at first and making sure that we're trying to catch and stay engaged on the shoulder. And then over time, you could do that on a smaller hold. And again, trying to catch in a specific chosen grip, whether that's open hand, half grip, less so full grip, but being able to generate force in those grips immediately is really important.
There are many different boards, and we love them all for different reasons. Kilter board, I personally like it because it allows me to be able to do big moves on slightly better holds, but then you have the tension board. And the tension board, I mean, well, it's in its name. It really works on your tension. It has horrible feet, a lot of wooden holds, so like no texture, which you need better footwork to be able to keep your feet on those holds, which is really important. And also a lot of smaller holds where it really relies on more crimp strength. So if I want to work on more fingery, tensiony type of climbs, like really hone in on that, then maybe I'll go on a tension board. If I want more dynamic, more flicky pogo and more of that like T position in my shoulders and that strength, then I'll get on the kilter board. But there's also a moon board, which is really good for outside because it has, I would say, like not your normal style holds that you'd find in a gym. They're not as comfortable, but they really work on finger strength. And you don't really get all the comfortable holds outside all the time. So moonboard's really good for that as well. I know Daniel Woods just came out with a new board, but there's so many cool things that you can do on boards. And I think, but strength, power, and tension are the three biggest things that I take away from them.
Come on. Okay, so you would have seen these in our social medias, plus we featured these for Apex Cool Labs Narwhals in the video about maximizing pull-ups. Alex and I have been using them a lot here in Texas because it's so hot. And again, I won't go into all the science, we talked about it in the video before, so I'll link that, but essentially just trying to keep your body in a state of homeostasis. So keeping your muscles from overheating and therefore reducing the output or not even being able to actually kind of work anymore. So board climbing is great because we're typically trying our hardest, projecting, falling off climbs, resting, going back on, trying to constantly work at this like upper effort level. Now this is where these are perfect because you come off the board, yes, your hands are hot, so it helps them cool down, but it cools your whole body down. And it means that you can kind of sustain a higher output for longer. So we'll put the links again for the research, but also to Apex Cool Labs A big thanks to them for supporting this video as well. But you'll see them a lot more in our social media and our videos. They're amazing.
We really hope you all enjoyed this episode on board climbing and found all these tips and tricks useful for yourself and to really up your board climbing level. And it's really going to help for those outdoor projects as well. And so when you can't go outside, it's either winter or bad weather or whatever, if you have access to boards, use them. Don't be intimidated by them. And yes, it's going to be usually harder grading, so just be prepared, but have fun. And grades are so subjective and they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. If you like this video and you want more content, please click like and subscribe. And we hope to see you guys all on the boards next time.